One thing for certain, most of you may have encountered when dealing with narcissists is the hypervigilance and the paranoid type of state of mind that they seem to have, that they seem to exist in. What are we talking about here? With a narcissist being hyper vigilant, we're looking at an individual who is constantly expecting the at the ready for some sort of slight attack or assault on their personal being, on them at least. Accompanied with paranoia, two major devastating and annoying traits, characteristics of these individuals. When dealing with them, they are always looking for something to happen. They are always finding something to nitpick about or to point out that is unfavorable to them or that was targeted at them specifically, even though it may have not had anything to do with them. They expect these things, right? And that coincides and is accompanied by paranoia. That's what that turns into. Being hypervigilant turns into extreme paranoia, where the individual is bugging out thinking that something is going on, something is happening, completely absurd for the most part. But this is what you'll deal with when you're dealing with these individuals. This is why they're always prying, snooping, looking, trying to investigate, all these things. Because I've said it before, narcissists have an internal dialogue within their mind that is part of the whole psychosis of what they deal with. Because that internal dialogue is completely out of touch with anything that has to deal with reality. It's telling them things that's going on that is nowhere near the facts. It's giving them answers and situations that they're envisioning in their minds, and then they begin to react and act up on this internal dialogue that's going on inside of their mind because it creates a certain type of imagination for them to therefore perceive it to be factual. Now that this internal dialogue has convinced them that what they're hearing in their mind and then visualizing is the real deal. So now you'll see how the narcissist's emotions and moods swing so rapidly is because a lot of times they're having these internal dialogues and cannot filter out the fact from the fiction. Because if they entertain it long enough, it becomes real to them. And you can't tell them any different. Even with facts being put in front of them, this is how powerful this dialogue is within their minds. This is how it controls their behavior because they cannot shut it off. They cannot stop the excessive thoughts that is penetrating their minds. They can't turn it off. Even more importantly, they can't filter out and decipher with the correct discernmency of what is actually to be considered a possibility from what's not even realistically a possibility. They can't filter in that way. This is therefore why they have so much bad judgment. And this is why you constantly see the narcissist reacting to things or overreacting, should I say, 9 out of 10 times. Because they're so in this state of being paranoid and afraid of something happening, of something going on that they're going to miss out on by not entertaining the thought that comes into their minds. comes into their minds, if they can envision it, it makes sense to them. It's a possibility, no matter how outlandish it is. They will entertain it. This is what creates that hyper vigilant and paranoid type of state of being that these individuals exist in. And when you're around it, you become a part of the enemy, so to speak, or the opposition as well. Because the internal dialogue is only concerned about covering their asses. Everybody else is an enemy, or is up to something, or is about to do them something. So this leads the narcissist into the state of being, I'm going to get you before you get me, or I will end the situation before you end it over me, because I'm already anticipating it coming. This is why a lot of times if the narcissist feels that something is coming to an end, they will initiate it first, because it keeps them an ability to say, I controlled this, I was able to see this, I caught this, I'm still on point, I'm still good. I ended it, even though it wasn't on them, it was already coming. They have to be that in tune to realize that, and if they even sense it may not be coming and may not be coming, but if they sense it and this internal dialogue is speaking to them, they're going to react to it and they're going to initiate a termination. Or they will act up in certain ways because they feel like something's going on. They're always constantly reading, trying to read into other people's emotions, other people's actions, and everything. They overwhelm themselves. Their brains are overwhelmed. They're doing too much excessive thinking on things that aren't even relevant or important to situations that they're dealing with. And they get so consumed by this that it totally distracts them from being a productive individual in other areas of their life that they could be being productive in. Because they're so afraid and so on guard and so trying to always stay ahead of other people. So much worrying about other things and other people, things outside of them that has nothing to do with them a lot of times. And if it does, they want to control it. They want to make sure that they're in position to control the outcome, control the direction of whatever it is that it's going in. It's of the utmost importance to them. Because if they feel like they controlled it, they feel like they're the potent, powerful individuals that they are. That's part of that grandiose type of, trait that they have within them. That exaggerated sense of power and all of this. It's exaggerated. Again, a lot of this is magical type of thinking. Totally detached from reality. And the problem is they cannot shut this internal dialogue off. They can't shut it off. They don't even know how to filter it. It owns them basically. And they answer to it. So whatever influences, this is why with the narcissist getting around whatever environment around or they're around or influences that they're under, it only magnifies more of what the narcissist will become by being in that environment or around those particular influences. So if they're around people who are into partying, drugs, sex, all of that, it will magnify that in a narcissist. All right? If the environment is functional and not dysfunctional, because of the hypervigilance and everything, this is why they still cannot function in that type of environment either. Because if it, let's say, for example, they're in a more functionable environment, that internal dialogue is constantly saying, wait for it, it's coming, it's too quiet, it's too normal, something's behind the corner. And so the narcissist, the more peaceful, the more quiet it is, the more functionable it is, the more unrest and the more restless, at least, the narcissist becomes. It's too quiet. Something's gonna go on. That's why in those type of environments where it's wild and unruly, they can function pretty well in those type of environments. It's that quietness. That's why they don't like being alone. It's that quietness. It's that peace that disturbs them. The narcissist has to be in environments that are validating these internal dialogues of everyone out to get them, people doing bad by them, people trying to trick them. They have to be able to validate that what is going on in their minds is reality and is real. And if you're dealing with this with the narcissist, it will be impossible when you're dealing with someone who has this level of hypervigilance and paranoia. It's basically part of their psychosis. Anyway, thank you all for listening. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Um, yeah, definitely share the videos. Could help people. Some people do get help from them. Also, the Quiet Weapons for Silent Wars Against Narcissists tour is available now if you want to get a copy. Limited release though. So limited copies out there, but it goes for people who are overseas who can get to see it, or people cities that I didn't get to stop in. You can get a copy now. I'll leave the link, a pop up here, or you can click in the description box and it'll take you right to it. It's downloadable. Um, yeah, so definitely do that. And there'll be links to other stuff as well. That my documentary, if you want to check that out, if you haven't gotten that, definitely a good look on that. Anyway, have a good one. Till next time.